Hi, Ron. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Ron Gacioch, easier pronounced than spelled, but I live at 24362 Walling Way and been here 5 years. In December it'll be 6 years that my deceased wife and I moved in. As an introduction, I did grow up in the downriver. I spent my entire life down here, in fact. Raised in Wyandotte, and after marrying, we moved to Southgate. From Southgate to Trenton, from Trenton to Woodhaven, and from Woodhaven here. So the area is pretty familiar to me of where we live. I got my bachelor and master's degree both from Eastern Michigan University in education, where I was a teacher for 32 and a half years. And I retired in the year 2000, and even though I was only 56 at the time, it certainly seemed like the way to go, and it was proved to be a right move.
Okay. Can you tell me what past experiences you have working as a committee member or working with a group to problem solve and create positive solutions?
Okay, I served on many committees and volunteered for many positions throughout my life, and there's a whole recap, and of course, in the Beacon. But here at Bridgewater, I served on the first board that represented the parks, and from 2017 to 2019. And during that time, I served on the master board as the representative from the parks. I also served on the transition committee as that was taking place. Now, during that time, the gal who was supposed to help me, she moved. So I kind of inherited the job. I took 110 different pictures of different problems: curbs, streets, driveways, trees, on and on and on. Took them over, had them developed, put them in sleeves, brought them over here, and everything was labeled on small cards. Everything was put in order, and I turned it into Sierra. These photos were turned over to Pulte, and having been having the experience of serving on the board, it showed me that it was an invaluable experience. It was something that major decisions had to be made, and I honestly and thoroughly believe that when you're going to make a final vote, whatever it is, as long as you get your agenda ahead of time, that you do your research, you do your due diligence with the matter, and then you have to cast your vote, not only to represent the parks, but also to make the best decision possible for the entire community. And that's how I would resolve the problem, is to make sure preparation is done and the community is at my best interest and at the best interest of all the constituents who live here.
Okay. What qualities do you believe a neighborhood representative should embody and bring to the board in order to create and promote a harmonious community relationship?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a people person. You had to be if you're going to be a teacher. Because you had to deal with parents, you had to deal with administration, you had to deal with kids, you had to go through the whole gamut. You had to be, as if you are elected, you have to be a voice for those who elected you. You certainly have to believe, and you have to have the ability to listen. You have to listen to people's concerns. I know from being on the board previously, the worst thing you can possibly do is just kind of shovel things off to the side. You have to try and serve to the best of your ability to get an answer for a concern for people. They might not always like the outcome, but they should at least get an answer, one way or another. Your concerns should be forefront, and you should be able to, in order to make it better, know the channels to go through. If you don't know, start with your rep. If they don't know, they can at least point you in the right direction, or they can, as for sure, get you in the direction through the front office about where to get your problem solved, if it can be solved. Another thing I would say to help the community is get to know your neighbors. Rely on your neighbors when you're going on trips. It's so beneficial to know the people who live around you, that will not believe how many times you're going to count on them. And they're going to count on you too. And that's what makes a good community. People being able to count on one another. Join a committee. When you need a voice, you feel the things you want to be a part of, look for openings on different committees, which there are many. Get on a committee and serve. Volunteer at the events that take place here. Do part and be a part of it. Volunteer to help. And more importantly, with this election coming up, get out to vote, because there's a certain percentage, I forgot what it is right now, 60% of the people need to vote in the parks in order to make it a real election. If not, it's going to go through all the extra expense of a new mailing, new stamping, printing out new ballots, the whole gamut of things that we don't need and will just cost extra money. Know your reps. That's your first line. Get to know them. Introduce yourself. Call them if you have a problem. But when you come to a social event, seek them out. Know who they are. The other thing that I always thought was probably, that I like to think solves a lot of problems, is you get to treat everybody with respect. No matter if you are the person who is involved and has a complaint, or you're treating the person and listening to the person who has the complaint. Everyone should be treated with respect. And I think if that's the way to go, a lot more will get solved.
Absolutely. What do you consider the greatest challenge for your individual community at the present time, and how would you resolve this challenge?
Well, we are the newest of the groups. We're the newest of the communities, is the parks. And a lot of times, excuse me, people from the parks feel they're being left out. They feel they're not part of the whole community. They have an attitude. I wouldn't say a lot, but some of the people have the attitude, it's us versus them, the new versus the old. And it's simply not true. An example would be people who lived in the area were concerned about water pressure. There was nothing this community could do to solve that, which entirely was a city problem. And that's where it had to go. And then again, going back to where do you go? Where do you go to solve a problem? And it certainly can be turned over and it can be conveyed. But again, you have to know and begin to start realizing you are part of the community too. As I would say, direct your concerns to the right source, to your local reps. Another thing is, be patient. They're getting over 200 concerns here a month, and more probably now. And they're handling them. I had 2 or 3 turned in. Yeah, did they get done the next day? Of course not. That's not even feasible to get done the next day. But they did get done. And so you have to have a certain amount of patience. You have to realize that there are 600 homes here, and that your concern is one of many that'll be treated, taken care of, or at least addressed. The other thing you could do, ask other people who have had similar problems in your neighborhood as you're walking around, saying, hey, I've got this problem with my house or my lawn or whatever. Have you had the same problem? And you'll find out that a lot of the problems are the same. And what the person did he got some results and got his problem solved, will be the same route that you'll probably have to take to get your problem solved.
Okay. Under what circumstances do you believe a special assessment to the community would be necessary?
Well, I firmly believe that a special assessment should be avoided whenever possible. All the cost of living are on the rise. We all know that. I just went to the grocery store today and I couldn't believe what $80 buys you or doesn't buy you today. Our taxes keep going up. Our incomes basically don't go up to equal the cost of living if we are on a fixed income. We're not going to go nowhere. They're not going away. Taxes and costs are not going to go down. As a board, no one wants to price somebody out of this community. That would be the very last thing any board member, any director, any social person, any director for activities would want to do is see somebody not be able to come and enjoy an event here because they don't have the money. Excuse me, because their taxes have gone up and their assessment has just left them right on the fringe. Any assessment should be kept as reasonable as possible, looking ahead as what is being budgeted. Whatever happens, happens, but emergencies are going to happen. They are going to be more than one time when we're going to have one or two calamities happen at the same time. And then again, you look at the budget, you look how much we have in reserve, and then you have to take a look at major repairs, such as what if the swimming pool went down? You're going to have a major repair, and it might, for all of us here to be able to enjoy it, you might have to dig in and pay a little bit more. But should it be avoided? Yes, at all costs if it can be.
Okay. What are 3 physical improvements that you'd like to see at Bridgewater, and what will you do to see them accomplished?
Okay, first of all, I think the upkeep of the clubhouse is very, very important. It is our, this is where people come, even if you're going to resale. And if we don't keep this clubhouse up top notch, keep the equipment going, keep it clean like we do with the twice a year, cleaning the rugs and so on, then I believe that is our showcase. And in order to pay off, when you want to resell your home, or your family has to resell your home, where are they going to come and look? Oh, look at this. We have a nice pool, we have this. All these amenities that are here certainly should be kept up. And that should be a priority. Now, I don't know if it's, in addition to, but it should at least be part of everybody's involvement is to keep this place going. Secondly, I'd like to see to expand the use of the patio. We are a community now of 600 people, and some of the events we just don't have the room. If we had an expanded use of the patio, and by that I mean, let's get some type of covering over it, either an awning that is retractable or a permanent, where some of the people on a nice day, for example, like today, would be able to go out and enjoy the activity with their neighbors, but again, be outside, not all crammed into one room, which we can't do now anyway, but in the future. I'd like to see a possible expansion of the meeting room. I think when Pulte put this together, I don't believe they quite measured enough to realize that 600 people trying to get into or an event in that room is adequate. And if at all possible, maybe with the patio would be part of an answer, maybe with an actual expansion of that room, depending on the cost, would be another way that we could accommodate more people at the events. You come up to the desk to sign up or you go online and it's very frustrating. And I know people I say, well, I went 3 times and every time I go online, it's sold out. That's because of limited space. And if we can get by with adding some more space, then I think we'll be certainly in a lot better position and make a lot more people in. How do we accomplish this? Well, there's money we can probably save from normal operating. Like, for example, this year with the water being turned on late, with the grass cutting being being moved back, not as many snow plows as was in previous years, and some money has been saved. Maybe that could be put into a fund for one of these extra add-on type of structures that I'm talking about. Maybe we could put aside a certain amount of money each year for one of these. Say, look ahead in a year that we want to expand that room, maybe in 5 years. So let's start putting the money aside now so that we have a fund that when we come to expanding that room, the majority of money will be there and the assessment will be far less. Maybe we need to take a loan, short-term loan, that we would be responsible for, but to be repaid in a short amount of time and still get the job done. It's a pleasure living here, and I think with those few little touches, we can make it a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you.